Hi everyone, it's Prash again from Single to Taken for another video. So this week we're going to go and ask the lovely ladies and talk about what to talk about when on a date. Just on the train now heading to Brighton, so let's go. Right, so just arrived in Brighton. So what to talk about when you're on a date. So I've actually got a playlist of different topics on what to talk about on a date. If you go on my channel to Topic Thursdays, because every Thursday I was, not anymore, but when I did have more time, I used to just talk about topics with what to talk about when on a date. So tune in on that and that will give you some ideas. Now one thing which I'm going to give you first to start off with and to give you a little flavour about is that everything that comes out of a woman's mouth is a pot of gold. Everything that comes out of a woman's mouth is a pot of gold. Bear this in mind and this will do you wonders. So what I mean when I say that everything that comes out of a woman's mouth is gold is that you have to be listening to everything that she is saying and base what you're going to say next based on what she's said previously. Now I know this may sound obvious, but there's a lot of guys out there when they go out on dates, all they'll do is they'll go, "What's your name?" They'll say the name. "Where are you from?" They'll say this, so they'll say Italy. "What do you do?" And the reason why this is harmful is because you're not showing the woman that you're actually listening to them. A better approach to this is be like, okay, so when you ask her where she's from, you'll say Italy, right? Italy is that gold that you've picked on. So you can base what you're going to say next on Italy. Now there's various different ways that you can go on it. You can talk about if you've been to Italy before, your trip to Italy, so a little backstory, your anecdote. So when I went to Italy, what you enjoyed on there, what you liked about it. You can say that. You can throw in a little tease. So you can say something like, "Oh, Italian people are really fiery." You can say that with a cheeky little smile. You can give a random little fact, which is, "Oh, the place where Ferraris are made." So can you see how this will be a lot more flowing compared to just constantly asking question after question after question, like Mr. Interview. One of the best things about going to a coastal area is getting yourself some fish and chips. Now I'm vegetarian, so I can't eat any fish, but when I visit a coastal area, one of the first things I do is go to one of their local chippies and get some chips with loads of salt and vinegar. One of the best things ever. Going back to the point I was telling you about previously about not being like Mr. Interview, there's a little thing which you can follow which is called a conversational safety net. So if you ask her a question and after she responds, you can mention a statement rather than asking a question, so that you don't sound like you're Mr. Interview. So for example, going back to the example about Italy, so you ask her where is she from or where did she grow up, she says Italy. You can give her a backstory about Italy or a little fact about Italy rather than asking another question. So then that way it's just a more better flowing conversation. So remember the conversational safety net where you've got question, she answers the question and then a statement, and then she says something after that, and then you ask a question again and you alternate that or rotate that in some way, shape or form. Right, so this brings me on to my next thing now. Kezia Noble talks about something which is really, really good when it comes to actually speaking to people, and that talks about in terms of the type of questions that you ask when you actually speak to a woman. So she talks about this thing called where people go to an autopilot mode. And let me ask you this. The job that you do, for those of you that are watching, when someone asks you what you do in terms of your job that you do you go into this autopilot mode where you say something autonomously without thinking about it? That's why try not to ask common questions when on a date as well. Say for example the date has just begun. Instead of asking how was your day, say what was the best thing about today? What was the worst thing about today? Because these are questions that are deviation from the expectation. It requires for the other person to think about it when they're saying it. So that's where you're creating more impact, and that's where you're going to stand out. Another examples of this is about, okay, so you can ask her what she does, but then afterwards ask her what inspired you to do what it is that you're doing. Now that's a really, really deep question because it's something that is concerned with people's passions and people on an emotional level. It's going to really get that person to open up from the heart. So this is where you're going to really create some impact and create that emotional connection with that person. Again, when it comes to talking about your job, what do you love doing about your job? What is it that you love? What is your favorite thing about it? I think about holidays. Holidays is something that you can talk about. What's the best holiday that you've ever been on? Any funny stories about the holidays that you've ever been on? So when you ask these slightly different questions, how much more you're going to stand out. And you're not being manipulative in any way. You're just being that little bit more curious, and you're showing to her that you've got a genuine interest in her. Because Dale Carnegie says that one of the ways to be interesting is to be interested, and to take a genuine interest in that person, and to talk to people in terms of their interests. So what you want to do when you're on the date is place the spotlight on her. Make it about her. So you do talking as well, but talk less about yourself and talk more about the woman herself. Now what this will do is that she's going to end up talking a lot about herself, and then she's going to think, oh, who is this guy? And she's going to ask the questions about you. So in essence, you're flipping the script. Can you see how much better this is, rather than just sitting there bombarding her with questions? You're not going to create any impact at all. So in terms of now topics we want to talk about, I've talked about different types of styles of questioning and how to listen to her, and what direction you need to go in when you're having that conversation. Some topics which you can talk about. So first of all, hobbies, what she enjoys doing. So say for example she likes paragliding. You can ask her what she loves about paragliding, what got her into paragliding, what was her favourite experience when she paraglided, any funny stories when paragliding. Again, it's about taking that genuine interest in her and putting that spotlight on her. Again, holidays and other things. So you can ask the question, are you looking to go away anywhere this year? What holidays have you been on? What is the best part about the holiday? What funny stories about your holiday destination? Listen to what it is that she's saying, and then you can either give your own experience or your own life story behind that, your own experience, your little anecdote. You can throw a little tease, you can give a little fact about it, you can give your opinion about something. Another thing as well is ask open questions rather than closed questions. Because what do open questions do? They encourage someone to get a more elaborate answer rather than just a yes or no. So ask open questions when you're on a date and when you speak to her, to get her to open up as well. Great, so what should people talk about when on a date?
I think they should talk about interests, hobby, what they like to do, their job, professionally maybe. I don't think what they should do is talk about past partners, past relationships, or I don't know, generally other people.
Okay, so all about just what they do in terms of their career.
Yeah, because I mean that's why you're on a date. You're trying to establish who they're about, what they're about, and you can't do that unless you ask those kind of questions. You don't want to necessarily know their interest or their background story, because everyone's got a background story, but you do want to know what their future plans are maybe.
Right, fantastic. Yeah? Anything else you want to share? Or
no, just be charming when you go on a date.
Okay, so what should people talk about when on a date?
So I hear a lot, people say stay away from politics, stay away from religion, stay away from things like that. I think it's really important to talk about that when you first meet someone. So I would say go ahead and do it. Find out about their views, discuss your views. I think it's really important to do that early on, so you figure out whether you have the same values.
Okay, but do you reckon it has to be that heavy, or would you say like give an example of what political thing you would?
Well, Brexit's such a big talking point at the moment, so I find that most people bring that up anyway. So I think that by proxy people are talking more about politics on dates because it's such a current topic. So it's just something that comes up a lot. So I think that opens the doors for more political views to come out.
Okay. It's
really interesting. I find that really interesting on a date. So
it would be great to see what people's take on Brexit is, as that is a current affair.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It can say a lot about a person, you know, their political views. So
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anything else you want to share, or anything you want to elaborate on?
I think still do keep it light, so don't come in just talking about all your views, and like be polite first, ask about different things about the person before you do that, to show that you're not going to judge, you know, based on that. So still keep it light-hearted, but you know, have a little bit of a debate as well. It's interesting.
Right, so what to talk about when on a date?
I can tell you what not to talk about, guys, and that is, please don't try and do a stand-up routine. Doesn't work. We only laugh out of embarrassment or to make you feel better about yourselves. But really, your jokes aren't always that funny, you know, when you just think you're just doing a stand-up. So we're just kind of trying to laugh in the right places, and we might be laughing in the wrong places. So don't think that you're doing a stand-up routine. Try and treat us like a person. So don't think of trying to get us into bed or anything like that. Just try and treat us like a person. Try and be interested in us, who we are, as people, as individuals, not as a sexual conquest or anything like that. Just show interest in us because we are fascinating creatures. We've got wonderful minds and we like to have stimulating conversation that is genuine and sincere. That's kind of basically how I feel it works, because then we can really warm to you and get to know your personality and who you are. But all this like pretense and I'm the jokey bloke in the group and that, it's just too pretentious. Just be yourself, and then we're just going to go, he's lovely.
That it's all about just being authentic and being genuine, not putting on that persona to try and
cool.
please.
You got it in one. Yeah.
Great.
The more we see of you, the more we're going to like of you. Yeah. So it's being a bit more like candid and real. And women love it when guys are considerate as well. They really love that. Women like to feel special. Yeah.
Great. Rawness and realness, lads, that's what they want.
Yeah. So best of luck and do a good job and make the women feel special and be genuine about it. Don't be phony. Just really endear them to your heart, okay? Yeah. Just think, how would you want your sister treated? And treat them just as nice. Okay? Okay. Be good.
Shows your strength of character.
So what should you talk about when on a date?
Well, I was going to say, obviously you've arranged a date because you've met the person somewhere, you talked to them, so find some common ground. But then I'm thinking, actually, I think the best thing is you just be yourself.
Okay.
Because I remember one date I had, and we went and met at some comedy, and it was a really, really awkward date.
Yeah.
And I started talking about travelling, and from his answers I could see this person had never, it was a completely different world for him. He'd never been travelling.
Yeah.
And there was this awkwardness that we both felt, and we didn't meet again. So in a way it was quite good. You can just say anything,
Yeah.
and you'll know if you get along, right?
Yeah. Just feeling that vibe, isn't it? I think the most important thing would be just to be present,
Yeah.
and you'll see whether you resonate with that person
right.
or not. Right. So what should one talk about when on a date?
I think on a date it would be good to ask the person what interests them. Why are they actually there? Why are they single? It depends on the age. So if they're like in their 30s or 40s or 50s, why do they think they're still single now? What mistakes or who did they date? Will they consider it wasn't the right person for them? Why was that not the right person? Why are you here at this particular, whether it's a webinar or, what you actually looking for in a person?
Okay. A webinar.
Yeah, webinar.
A webinar, isn't that something to do with business?
Yeah, but you can still be looking.
Okay. Fair enough. Anything else you want to share? Or any other pointers?
What else? What do they like? What are they looking for?
Okay.
Why are they looking for that? And what they've looked for so far, has it worked? Could you be looking for something which isn't right for you? Have you looked at that? I would say that.
Okay. Right. So what should you talk about when on a date, when going on a date?
I think first and foremost you should try and stay natural. Ask about what they do, career-wise, family, because ultimately you want to get to know them, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else you want to share? Do you want to elaborate?
So family, career, what they enjoy doing, the kind of, activities they enjoy doing as well. So maybe next time you can actually plan a proper date.
Yeah.
What their favorite color is, what their favorite food is. Yeah.
So what do you talk about when you go out on a date?
Well, it just I leave the thing to flow, I just let things flow in and see what happens. With some people, you just get the feeling straight away. With other people, don't talk about anything. I just don't force anything, never.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share, or anything else you want to elaborate on?
Keep positive. Not everyone is going to reject you.
Okay. So what to talk about when on a date?
I think when you're on a date, it has to be a combination of talking about things that you're interested in, and a person that has got an interesting hobby and they're speaking about it passionately, that I find that quite interesting. But also it has to be about you engaging the conversation with the woman about what their interests are, and actually genuinely being interested about what it is that they're into. But it has to go both ways. You can't just rely on the other person to hold the conversation the whole time.
Yes, it's about listening to what they're saying and base what they're saying next on that, and vice versa, so that it's engaging in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Right, so what to talk about when on a date?
I think the best things to speak about are your maybe like potential mutual interests, so like maybe music, hobbies, what you do for a career, if you've kind of got any mutual interests really, because I think that's a good starting point when having a conversation with someone new.
Okay. Anything else you want to share, or do you want to elaborate on that?
I think if you have similar musical tastes, I mean for me personally, that's always a really good starting point. Maybe any similar hobbies, maybe traveling, or if you've been to the same countries, that could be a potential talking point.
It's just great to share each other's experience, especially with travelling and hobbies.
Yeah.
What you liked about it, funny stories behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Great. Anything else you want to share, or any other points?
Just be yourself and just have fun with it.
Great. It's all about enjoying the process, isn't it?
Exactly.
Rather than being too serious.
Yeah, don't be too clinical. Just, relax, be yourself, and if you're yourself and the other person resonates with that, then that's right. And if you're yourself and it's not easy, then maybe you should just cut your losses and move on.
Okay, so what do you talk about when you're on a date?
I think the key things to talk about when you're on a date is things that you both have in common. I think it's important for the man to have lots of banter and things that are of personal interest to you, like what hobbies and what you like doing outside of work and what you do for work. I think that's something that would build a good rapport in relationships and dating.
Right, well I hope that was helpful. So most women was just saying about being in the moment, being in the groove, talking about your personal interests, what your hobbies are, what your passions are, what you do for your work, and just having a two-way conversation. Think about it as a ping pong game where you say something, doing, and then she hits the ball back, doing, and it's just going back and forth in that sort of a fashion. Think of it more that way rather than you having to do all the talking or she having to do all the talking. Make it a two-way thing. So yeah, just try and aim to be present rather than trying to be perfect. That's the most important thing as well, because if you have an expectation of how you want it to go, and if it doesn't go that way, then you're going to get frustrated, and that's not going to show up well on the date as well. So just try and be present, try and be in the moment, just like how you're when you've just met a new friend. Pretend that you're just meeting a new friend at the same time, but don't forget to have that banter and crack some jokes at the same time, but don't do that too much. Just throw a few spikes here and there, just to show that you've got that multi-dimensional personality and that you can tease her and you're not just that nice guy, and that will leave you out of the friend zone as well. I'll give you some topics over here just to get you guys started. Cartoons you used to watch. I'm sure you used to like cartoons when you were a child, right? So cartoons is a good topic on what to talk about when on a date. Job, the types of jobs you have, your first ever job that you had when you first started, your work experience. Talk about that. First holiday that you ever been on. Best holiday, funny stories went on a holiday, any destinations that you wanted to go but you haven't yet been on. When you first started getting pocket money, what sort of pocket money you used to get. See, these are things that happen when you're in your life, and this is stuff that you can talk about, and this is where you can really sell your personality and really sell yourself, because this is going to make the date really interesting and really fun. Let me just think of a couple more now at the moment. Bargains, you got any best bargains? Brands where you like shopping, any particular brands that you like and why you like those particular brands. School, your childhood, what your life was like in the playground. So your school life in the playground, what games you played, first time you used the internet. I've talked about these on my topic Thursdays, but I thought I'd just recap some of these now. But the topics that I've just spoken about now, I'm going to give you 30 of those fun topics, and all you have to do is just keep them in your mind, in the back of your mind, and that will just make your day really interesting and probably just make you stand out from the crowd. But don't just be like that Mr. Interview, constantly asking that question, what she's saying. So imagine when you just started out the date. So if you ask how was your day, talk about how was your day. She'll talk about her day, and then you can say, okay, what was the best thing about your day? And listen to what she's talking about and base what you're going to say next based on what she's just said. So always listen to what it is that she's saying and just base that on there, and just pretend that you two are in that bubble and you're just really paying attention to her as well, and take a genuine interest in her as well. You know, Dale Carnegie says that the way to be interesting is to be interested and take a genuine interest in someone. To take a genuine interest in someone and talk to people in terms of their interest, and just explore more about why they like something. So if they like a particular hobby, why do they like that particular hobby? What is it that got them into it? What do they love so much about doing it? That way you're really placing that spotlight on that person. Anyways, I hope this helps. You know the drill. Like, share and subscribe. Keep the questions and comments coming. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, well, if you think that you can just go up to a woman and say, hey pretty girl, want to go out sometime, then give it a thumbs down. And I will see you on the next video. I'm just in Brighton Pier at the moment, just show you what it is. So that's the seafront over there, and that's the sea over there. And that's the sea over there. I'm right down south in the south of England. I have to walk back on the pier now and get a train back up to London again. How fun. Anyways, I'll see you on the next video. Ta-da.